In this video I'm going to be showing you my super ultra budget Cyber Dragon build. I think this is a great time to get into the Cyber Dragon archetype because it's one of the best archetypes in the game, but more importantly right now the cards are so cheap. This archetype may be getting power creeped with even the new splites and all that stuff, but at the same time Cyber Dragons has always been, or has been around since the GX era and has been continually resurfacing. I think one of the reasons behind that is because you can summon some really big creatures really quickly. And also because of cards like Chimera Tech, Fortress Dragon, and Mega Fleet, you can just contact fuse away your opponent's board. So Cyber Dragons just has all around really good cards that regardless of what your opponent is playing, you can disrupt them. This entire deck can be built for about $27 as of I priced it out today. I actually did some pricing here, but I'll probably just leave an Excel spreadsheet below. And for some cards, like even like Cyber Dragon Core, you could buy the common for like 25 cents or just get the rare for 35. And I think if you want to spend like $1.50, you could get like the super rare. But in general, if you want the card, super cheap. Almost every card in this deck is below $1. However, there's some, especially in the extra deck, where it's a little bit pricier. Like Cyber Dragon Infinity is about $3.50, which I mean, realistically is not that expensive since you only need, well, actually you kind of need two, but this deck we're running just one. But regardless, we'll go into each individual card in a second. Stick around for a little bit later in the video. We're going to go over some cards which you can buy to upgrade the deck that might be a little bit costly or a little bit more expensive, but I'm not talking about anything over like 10-15 bucks here. One last thing I wanted to mention is I got all these prices off of TCG Player. I did not include or factor in shipping costs. I just assumed you would buy from one seller. Like if you buy from TCG Player direct, you probably would get roughly these prices depending on how many packages it comes in. But yeah, $27 roughly speaking, depending on who you're buying it from and getting it shipped from. Starting off the monsters, we're running 20 of them. We're running 3 Cyber Dragons. We are running the Machine Dupe build because it's just so good, especially for budgeting purposes. Right here, this is about 60 cents, maybe 75 cents. It's pretty cheap. Next up, we're running 3 core. This is pretty much the starter of the deck. I'm assuming most of you kind of know what Cyber Dragons do, but if you don't, I guess we could go into that too because this is a budget deck, so most likely it's more for geared toward a beginner. Cyber Dragons allows us to special summon from the hand if our opponent controls a monster. Super cool. We do run a lot of level 5 Xyz monsters, so Cyber Dragon will definitely help us. We also are running Machine Dupe. We will get into that in a second, but this is our main target is Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon Core, one of the best cards in the game. When you normal summon it, you get a Cyber Spell from your deck to your hand. You can also banish this card from your graveyard and get a Cyber Dragon monster from your deck and play it on the field. Super, super good. We're running 3 Cyber Dragon Herz. This card's great because when it gets sent to the graveyard, we can bring a Cyber Dragon monster from our graveyard, sorry, Cyber Dragon from our graveyard or our deck to our hand. Also, I should mention when either of these are in the graveyard, they are treated as a Cyber Dragon. Not Cyber Dragon Core, not Cyber Dragon Herz, Cyber Dragon. And that's important because let's say Core is in our graveyard and Herz gets sent to the graveyard, we can actually bring back Cyber Dragon Core to our hand because it allows us to do that with any Cyber Dragon monster. This has a secondary effect too. We'll just negate it because it's not really that important. Next up, we're going to be running 2 Cyber Dragon Nachster. Nachster is going to allow us to do a lot of things later in the game. But basically when we normal summon or special summon this, we can target one machine monster with 2100 attack or defense, which is basically a lot of our Cyber Dragon monsters, and we can bring that to the field. It does lock us into the machines, but that really does not matter because we are really only running machines. In my normal build, I'm only running 1 of these because of space purposes, but this we can run 2. Next up, we're going to be running a Vier. Vier is pretty cool because when we normal summon, or basically when we summon a Cyber Dragon monster, this guy can just get special summoned too, and it's going to give all of our Cyber Dragons 500 attack and defense. So pretty cool secondary effect, but the main effect is we can just get another free level 4 on the field that's also treated as a Cyber Dragon. Only doing 1 because I don't really see the need of running more than 1. Cyber Dragon Vier can also chain block, so one of the easiest scenarios to explain is when you play Cyber Dragon, it actually summons successfully on the field. You can chain it with Vier to normal summon or special summon that. Your opponent cannot Ash Blossom Cyber Dragon Core. The effect goes through, getting you that Cyber Spell. Super good. The next card is Cyber Dragon Drei. This card's pretty good because when we summon it, we can make all of our Cyber Dragons basically level 5 and go into a lot of our machine plays. This card also has a secondary effect. You can banish it and target one Cyber, if it's in your graveyard, banish it and target one Cyber Dragon, and it can't be destroyed by card effects or battle, so it's pretty cool. Kind of just in here to make all your Cyber Dragons level 5 so you can go into your Xyz plays. I guess one of the last, it's not a Cyber Dragon, but this card, if you're not running it, you really should. This card is so spicy. Like, I actually run this in my actual build. People just aren't expecting it. So what this card does is, I'm just going to read this card because it's pretty important and it's super spicy again. So how you summon this card is you special summon it by removing from play all face-up light machine type monsters from your side of the field and your grave. This card's attack and defense are equal to the number of monsters removed from play times 500. When this card is special summoned, send all other face-up monsters to the field to the grave. That is why this card is so good. So even if you send one monster, sure, you're getting a 500 attack defense cyber monster on the field, but the main thing is all other face-up monsters on the field go to the grave. They're not destroyed, they're not targeted, they just go there. This answers so many problems. Now sure, you're discarding like your whole entire field and grave, but usually you're using this to like remove a lot of your opponent's problems. One thing too, we are running Cyberload Fusion, which allows us to fusion summon using banished cards. So I'm not saying it's synergy, but it's something that worst comes to worst, we can search out a Cyber Fusion and get some of our face-up banished cards and put them back in the deck. Super spicy. I highly recommend people try that out. I have so much, I'm not gonna say fun with it, but when it comes up and it's needed, always needed. And it's also searchable off of Cyber Emergency and Cyber Repair Plant. We are running the Cyberdark package, so we are running Chimera. Chimera allows us to do things that we probably shouldn't be able to do. When we activate Chimera's effect, we can discard a spell or trap, and that will allow us to get a Powerbond from our deck to our hand. Also, for the rest of this turn, we can banish cards, or I guess dragon or machine cyber cards from our graveyard, banish those and use those as fusion material monsters, which is absolutely crazy. Also, this has a secondary effect which we don't use, so I'm not really going to mention it, but getting that Powerbond to our hand and allowing it to banish is absolutely ridiculous. I'm only playing one because it's searchable, and you really only need it for that one effect to get the Powerbond and banish. So it's more of a combo piece as a thing that I really want to see all the time, but we can search it. Next up is Cyberdark Claw. What this does is when we discard it from our hand to the graveyard, we're going to get a Cyberdark spell from our deck to our hand. This is going to search out the cards we'll see in a second, but that's going to help us go into our combo piece with Chimera. Next up, we're playing 2 Jizukiru. Reason why I chose 2, usually I go 1 is because this deck is more, again, budget friendly. This card's like 25 cents and absolutely crazy. You can tribute one of your opponent's monsters on the field and just special summon this card. This card answers and solves so many problems on the board. We're definitely running 2. One thing to mention too, the best part about this card though is it's a machine. So as long as what we do is you tribute this on your opponent's side of the field, destroy one, you don't destroy, you tribute one of their monsters. Best part too, you don't destroy. Then you play a Cyber Dragon and then you fusion special summon your Cyber Dragon with this card on their side of the field to make Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, so you don't really lose anything in a sense. Super good card. This card is also searchable from your repair plant. So yes, very, very good. Helps you answer a lot of problems on the board. Last monster in the deck is Pankratops. This card again is like maybe 35-40 cents. Absolutely crazy for what it does. Same thing as Cyber Dragon. You can special summon it if you control no monsters and your opponent controls a monster. And it's 2600 attack. This also has a secondary effect. If you tribute this card, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. So you can summon this huge monster for free, attack with it, sack it, tribute it, and destroy something on the field. Crazy. And it's like 25 cents. Super, super good. Anyway, this is the monster lineup. We need a lot of Cyber Dragons because that's all of our fusion summons. We have the Eltanin, I can't pronounce that, it's a searchable, I remove everything from the field, sort of, all the monsters. Then we got the Cyberdark package to try and get us to our plays even better and go over the top. And we got our answers to a lot of things in the format. That being said, let's head on over to the Spell and Traps. Now for the Spell and Traps, we're running 3 Cyber Emergency. This can allow us to search for any Cyber Dragon monster or a light machine that can't be normal summoned or set, which is our Cyber Eltanin. Again, I don't know how to pronounce it. Also, if this card is negated, you can basically discard a card and get this back to your hand. However, with Ash Blossom running around, this actually doesn't, you never really see that effect. If this gets Ash Blossom, there's nothing you can do about it. You don't get that effect, so. But yeah, great card. Next up, 1 Repair Plant. This card again is searchable. Same thing with these, searchable off of core. Most of the time you're going to be searching for Cyber Emergency. This is going to allow us to hit more specific targets. However, we need a Cyber Dragon monster in our graveyard in order to activate the effect. It also has a secondary effect. If we have multiple, I guess 3 or more Cyber Dragons, we can also target 1 light machine monster from our graveyard and put it into our deck. I guess I should have said we can activate 2 effects, but the main effect here is you're going to add 1 light machine monster from your deck to your hand as long as you have a Cyber Dragon monster in your grave. Typically too, you're going to want to keep your cyber dragons in your graveyard because it's just so much easier to access them that way. Could run 2, but again, I don't really see the need to run more than 1. Next up, 2 Cyberdark Realm. This is what we're going to be searching either off of our Cyberdark Core or our Cyberdark Claw. What this card does is we're going to want to search Chimera, and then it's going to allow us to normal summon Chimera to the field. It's just a little cheat in order, again, to get our combo. I do already have a combo video discussing this more in depth, so I do recommend watching that. I'll leave a link down below. However, I will just briefly go over it at the end of the video in case you're curious. Rounding out the Cyberdark package, 1 Cybernetic Horizon. Only need 1 in my opinion, just because it requires a lot to use this card because we have to discard it from our hand and send a bunch of stuff to the graveyard. But this is great because it also gets a fusion into our graveyard, which can help us with one of our fusion monsters. What we usually want to search off of this is Cyber Dragon Core. It's just one more way to get it to our hand because that's ultimately our starter piece. As long as we have Core, we can almost win the game, assuming our opponent doesn't stop us somehow. But I mean, obviously they're probably going to stop us, but it's just another way to do it. Got 3 machine dupes. Machine duplication is great because there's a lot of targets in the deck. This is going to allow us to special summon 2 Cyber Dragons from our deck, which is insane. Like, so if you normal summon Core and Nachster or Herz, if any of those are on the field, assuming you don't have Vier out, because Vier might mess it up because this has to be with an attack of 500 or less. But if you do have one of those monsters out and you machine dupe, you get 2 Cyber Dragons to the field special summoned. There you can go into link plays or just some massive Powerbond plays. But yeah, next up we got Powerbond. This is the holy grail of the deck. Again, this card's super cheap, and for what it does, it's pretty good. This is going to allow us to fusion summon a monster from our extra deck with cards on our side of the field or hand. However, with Chimera's effect, it will also be from our graveyard. So we're going to be allowed to bring out some huge monster. But I guess the best part is it doubles the attack permanently as long as that card is, again, on the field. But then we also do take the original attack of the monster as direct damage at the end turn. However, it doesn't really matter that much. I have lost games because of that, but I mean, you got to go big or go home, right? I played 2 because 1, if you have it in your hand, then you can't search for it off Chimera and get that extra bonus effect of banishing from your graveyard. Also, if something happens to the first one and gets negated or something else, at least you have 1 more in the deck you can kind of count on. Next up, we have 2 Overload Fusion. So this is going to allow us to special summon 1 Dark Machine from our extra deck by banishing cards from our side of the field or graveyard. It's great because there's always going to be some Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, but the reason why I don't like it as much is because we run the Powerbond package. It's just so much better than Overload Fusion in my opinion. The thing that Overload Fusion does that Powerbond doesn't is Powerbond is like a little bit more, I guess, over the top. When Overload Fusion is more consistent in a sense, like we're going to have some cards in our graveyard we're going to be able to banish. Also, we don't take damage from at the end of the turn. When this comes up, it's great. However, it's not as good as Powerbond because also it's only going to be Dark Machine Fusion monsters, which is there's only like 2 maybe in the side or the extra deck. And really the only target is Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. Anyway, moving on, we're going to be running 1 Cyber Load Fusion. This is that card mentioned before where we can take cards that are banished and face up, and we can use those as materials for a fusion summon. There's also a quick effect spell, so we can do it during the battle step even our opponent's turn and be able to fusion summon a monster. Or I guess more specifically a fusion monster. There is some other little quirks with this, like once you fusion summon this, that monster can only attack that turn. However, if you do it later in the turn and it's like the last thing you summon, you can still attack with that after you attack with everything else. This is searchable off of Core, which is good. However, definitely not the best fusion card, but it's there when you need it. Now this is 1 tech spicy play. I really wanted to make this card work. I'm not sure if it's amazing, but I think it's got potential. Super cheap card too, it's like 10 cents. This card's cool because you can target 1 machine cyber fusion monster in your graveyard, return it to extra deck, or special summon it. This also is a quick effect, but the key thing here is that monster has to be special summoned or fusion summoned normally, because if it wasn't, then you can't actually special summon it. But the main reason why I have this in the deck is if a machine cyber fusion monster you control be destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So what this does is someone tries to destroy your big boy cyber dragon fusion monster, you can banish this from your graveyard and somewhat kind of negate you don't negate the effect, but you're kind of saving your own monster. Not like super amazing, however, if it's in your graveyard and it comes up, it could be a nice little surprise factor. I almost consider this as like a trap card because again, the surprise, but something worth, I think, trying out. Next up, we have our going second cheap card, Dark Hole. Destroy all monsters on the field, pretty self-explanatory. I typically run Raigekis, which are $3–4, and they're definitely a little bit better. Just destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field, so definitely a little bit better in a sense. However, this is much cheaper, and for the most part, when you see this card, it's going to be in your opening hand, and you're going to be going first or second. So this should be the first card you play and try to destroy everything on the field. Hopefully, it doesn't get negated. Obviously, the best card is probably Lightning Storm. However, Raigeki does have places in that Lightning Storm doesn't necessarily target. But yeah, Dark Hole, I think it's a good substitute for both of the cards. Super cheap too, especially if you're on a budget. Definitely need 3 because we just don't have that many other cards that interact with our opponent to try to bait out some negates and stuff. We have 2 Cybernetic Overflow, super great trap card, searchable off of core. But yeah, you banish Cyber Dragons at different levels from your hand, field, or graveyard and destroy any cards on the field. You don't target, which is excellent. Also, if this is destroyed, you get to search out a Cyber Spell or Trap from your deck, add it to your hand. You can also chain this with one of your own cards to destroy it. Like if we had a Mystical Space Typhoon or Cosmic Cyclone, we can do that and pop our own card. However, the best thing about this card is doesn't target. Destroy things and don't target. And the last card is kind of a spicy pick. We got Cybernetic Revolution. Love the artwork too. This is something I feel like most people don't expect, but when I've been kind of testing with it on Master Duel, it's just spicy. Basically, tribute 1 Cyber Dragon monster, special summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck that lists Cyber Dragon monster as a material, but it can't attack and is destroyed during the end phase. Why this is so good is because just so you have a Cyber Dragon core on the field. Oh, it's going to get attacked and get destroyed. Flip this bad boy up, boom, now you have Cyber End. Or better yet, you have Cyber Eternity Dragon on the field, and let's say you have a fusion in the graveyard, it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects and targeted. So you can really get some big boy card out and on the field. However, it does get sent to the graveyard at the end of the turn. But that also isn't that bad because you are actually fusion summoning it. Or you are special summoning it. So later on you can actually bring that back using a Monster Reborn or something because it actually got summoned normally to the field. Anyway, that is the spell on traps. Now let's head on over to the extra deck. For the extra deck, we're running Cyber End Dragon. Literally the best card in the game. Super, super cool. 3 Cyber Dragons and it's 4,000. However, we're going to power bond it. It's going to get 8,000. And it's got piercing damage. Next up, Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. This is what we're going to be using for Jizukiru. But this is going to be a way that we're going to contact fuse away a lot of our opponent's monsters. Especially, mostly for Jizukiru though. Next up we have Mega Fleet. So we have 2 of these. This is similar to Fortress Dragon, but we're gonna need to use a monster from the extra monster zone. This comes up like almost every game for me. Like I'm not even kidding because we're going second usually and there's someone's always gonna be summoning some link monster, put it in the extra monster zone, and this thing just sucks it up. Your opponent can't respond to that because it's not really an activation of anything. You're just tributing it to summon this monster. Super good. Next up, Cyber Twin Dragon. Twin comes up a lot. You only need 2 Cyber Dragon monsters and it can attack twice for 2,800. Typically though, it's going to be 5,600 with Power Bond and you're attacking twice with it. Insane amounts of damage. And only 2 Cyber Dragons. It's so easy to get 2 Cyber Dragons into the grave or on the field or even in your hand because we're running so many of them. Next up is Cyber Eternity Dragon. A lot more text on this card, but it's 2,800 attack, 4,000 defense. The main thing about this is if you have a machine fusion monster in our graveyard, our opponent cannot target this card with card effects and it cannot be destroyed by our opponent's card effects. Super, super good. This just puts up like a massive wall for our opponent, especially if we have it power bonded out. It's 5,600 attack, 4k defense. Now, obviously, if they like destroy or remove something from our graveyard or machine fusion monster, it will lose its super good effects. However, this effect is still worth trying to get in more fusion material monsters or fusion monsters in our graveyard. It also has effect if it gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard. We can special summon a Cyber Dragon from our deck, hand, or graveyard. We can also banish this card from our graveyard and protect our fusion monsters, but like it's not a quick effect, so this is why it's not good. I rarely see that come up actually good. Maybe I'm just playing it wrong, but the best thing about this is get this on the field. As long as you have a fusion material, a fusion machine in your graveyard, this thing can't die. The fusion summoning of this is also a lot more lenient. 1 Cyber Dragon monster and 2 machine types. But this card is very power bondable because it doesn't say 3 Cyber Dragons. It's 1 Cyber Dragon monster, which is different, and 2 Cyber Dragons. Or sorry, 2 machine monsters. This is a good time to go over this, but if any of these fusions say Cyber Dragon, it has to be Cyber Dragon, or Cyber Dragon core, let's say on the field with its effects not negated, because it will be a Cyber Dragon on the field or in the grave. Same thing with Herz, on the field or in the grave it's a Cyber Dragon, not Cyber Dragon Herz. If it says a Cyber Dragon monster, it could be core and have its effects negated, could be Herz, its effects negated, could be Drei with its effects negated, or even in the hand, a Cyber Dragon core in the hand is a Cyber Dragon monster. However, again, if it's a Cyber Dragon, it has to specifically be like a Cyber Dragon, or let's say a Cyber Dragon core without its effects negated. Key wording. Chimera Rampage Dragon is probably one of the best cards. You only need 2 or more Cyber Dragon monsters, so it's a lot more summonable. When this card is fusion summoned successfully, you get to pop 2 spell or trap cards on the field, and you can activate an effect and send 2 cards from your deck to the graveyard. This will allow this card to get 2 more attacks for a total of 3 attacks during the battle phase. Usually you will send a Cyber Dragon Herz from your deck to your graveyard, which will get you a Cyber Dragon card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. This card is just insane. Usually you're getting 4200 attack 3 times with it, so it's crazy. Next up we got 2 Cyber Dragon Nova. Link 5 plays. Pretty easy to get out, especially because we have Machine Dupe. But this card packs a lot of punch. So 2100 attack, 1600 defense. You need 2 level 5 machine type monsters, which is very doable in our deck. So once per turn, we can detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 Cyber Dragon in our graveyard and special summon it. Also once per turn, during either player's turn, we can banish 1 Cyber Dragon from our hand or face up on the field. And this card gains 2100 attack, so this could be a 4200 beater. The most important part of this card though probably is if this card is in your possession and is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, we can special summon 1 fusion machine type monster from our extra deck. Crazy. So many people don't read this card and this card gets destroyed by some effect or just something like Nibiru or anything like that, and this card goes to the graveyard. This card gets you can just put a Cyber End out on the field. Absolutely crazy. One thing too, if your opponent Solemn Judgments this or Solemn Strikes it, you still get the effect. Cyber Dragon Infinity, really great card too. This is more of a controlling card, but if we have a Cyber Dragon Nova on the field, we can just overlay it with Infinity. Typically you want to use Cyber Dragon Nova's effect first, but Infinity, great card, the most expensive card in this deck, at about $3.50. We're only running 1 in here, recommend running 2 though, it's just really that good. This card has a lot of effects, like for every Xyz material, you get 200 attack. Also once per turn, we can target 1 face-up monster on the field and attach to this card, including our opponents. We just steal their attack position monsters. It's ridiculous. And also once per turn during either player's turn, whenever a card effector is activated, we can detach 1 material and negate the activation and destroy it. Insane. Anything your opponent does, if you don't want them to do that, you just detach material and they don't do that. However, it's only once per turn again. However, if you have multiple Cyber Dragon Affinities out, you can activate the effect. We have Constellar Pleiades. This card I don't play too often, but it's there in case you need it. You can detach 1 Xyz material from this and you can target 1 card on the field and return it to the hand. It is any card, not just a monster, so it just helps solve some problems that you don't really want. Pretty cheap card too. Now for the links, Cyber Dragon Seeger, definitely really good. You need 2 machine monsters including Cyber Dragon. What this card can do is it targets other Cyber Dragons you control with 2100 or more attack, and it can't be destroyed by battle, and it also gets 2100 extra attack. So yeah, it just beefs up your boys and they can't be destroyed by battle. Super good, really easy and summonable. You also need this for the 1 card OTK. Next up we got Salamander, the Great Owl Mirage. This card, I don't like having a spot for it, but the main reason why this card is here is because sometimes you have to get a Cyber Dragon into your graveyard, and the main thing for this is 1 normal summon monster with 1000 or less attack. So Core, Herz, Nachster, as long as you normal summon that, you can link it off, send it to the graveyard, and now all of a sudden you can get some other spicy plays online because you just very easily got something into the graveyard. The main effect though is you contribute this card and target 1 monster and it can't be destroyed by opponent's card effects this turn. But for me, the main thing is just making sure that I can get a Cyber Dragon in the graveyard. Then we got Relinquished Anima. This card actually is just so spicy. Like, it comes up pretty often because your opponent's just not expecting you to play it. But 1 level 1 monster accept the token, so we have our Herz and Nachster. I think there's about 5 cards that we can, maybe 6 in this deck that we can summon with this. When you summon this, you can activate this card that this points to, so it has to be in one of the extra monster zones, like on their side of the field, if that makes sense. So like if I move this down, let's say this is my opponent and I play it here, their card has to be here, or their card has to be here. But if I play it there and it points to this monster zone and they have a card there, I can target it and equip it to this card and it gains their attack. Reason why that's so spicy though is, again, because we're going second, so our opponent's mostly likely going to summon a bunch of monsters. So what does this do? We suck up one of their monsters, it makes them feel really bad, and then before I guess we do that, if we do it with a Herz or even a Nachster, hopefully it's a Herz, we can pitch the Herz, now we have a Cyber Dragon in the graveyard, but then we're also getting something to the hand. Just something spicy, it comes up and people just aren't really expecting it, to be honest. Anyway, super long video though, I do want to quickly go over just some tech in case you want to upgrade the deck, like what I would do first. I think Raigeki's might be a lot better than Dark Hole, however I don't think it's super urgent. Something worth noting though. One thing I didn't add to the deck that probably should be is Rev System. Special summon one Cyber Dragon from your hand or graveyard and it cannot be destroyed by card effects. However, this card's like $8-9 and I don't know if it's worth it because it gets good, but you don't need it necessarily. Probably hold off on this. Definitely would buy a Harpy's Feather Duster. I main this card because I see it. If I see it, it's always good all the time. Like it's very rarely not good. Just wipe away all your opponent's spell and trap cards on the field. It's maybe like $3 or $4, but I highly recommend you pick this up and add it to the deck. If not, a sideboard card. Dark Ruler no more. This is amazing because if you're a little bit more into the competitive scene, your opponent's always going to have these massive effect monsters on the field. But when you play this card, your opponent can't respond to it with monster effects, and this is going to negate all the effects of your opponent's monsters. Your opponent will take no battle damage that turn, but usually if you need this card, your opponent really is ahead of you, so it's there if you need it. You won't be able to win that turn, but you wouldn't be able to win anyway. So this card's like $2 or $3. I would definitely pick up some. Infinite Impermanence is like maybe $10. It's so good though, and you can see Cyber Dragon Infinity is on it, so it definitely fits the theme of the deck. But this is basically a hand trap, and it's also just a normal trap. I think if there was any hand trap, I would just pick this because it's kind of valid everywhere. But yeah, I think I would definitely pick this up. Call by the Grave. Your opponent's always going to have some type of like hand trap or something in the graveyard, especially with the new format roaming around. But you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard and banish it, and if you do, its effects are negated. This is limited to one, but I think this card's like $2 or $3. I would pick it up, just throw it in the main. Lastly, Forbidden Chalice. This is a little bit poor man's Forbidden Droplet, but I'm not spending like $70 on a card that isn't a Cyber Dragon. This is going to allow you to target one face-up monster on the field and negate its effects. It's a quick effect, so you can also play it on your opponent's turn. Really good card. I think it's like maybe $1.50, $2. But the main thing that I would focus on in upgrading this deck is focus on getting really good or powerful spell cards. Or head on over to the extra deck and get another Infinity, because you're usually going to see two. You could probably drop the Pleiades or the Anima, but getting that other Infinity is probably great. Every card in here is, I think, almost fine. Like, there's definitely cards that could get cut out, but I think from a playable point of view, I think this is not only a lot of fun, but you can actually do some pretty wild things. The other thing is, if your opponent summons some really destructive board, you're going to want to have cards like Infinite Permanence to stop them before that, or Dark Ruler no more to try and get rid of it. So you're going to want to probably focus on those really impactful cards, per se, like the spell cards. I do want to mention one monster, and that's Galaxy Soldier, which is actually really great. It's about $2, and you need two of them. You don't need three, but you definitely need two. That allows you to get into some really good plays with Infinity and Nova. However, it's definitely not 100% needed, but if you want to spend like I guess $5, you can pick up those cards or the Galaxy Soldiers, and that would really improve the deck without really doing a whole lot to it. But yeah, anyway, a long video. I wasn't expecting it to be this long. Hope you enjoyed. I love chatting about Cyber Dragons and stuff. I'm still learning, so feel free to leave some thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the deck. Maybe add some other spicy tech to it that's really cheap. Get some other people excited about playing Cyber Dragons. As always though, let me know below some things that we could have added. Help out some other people in the comments looking for a nice little budget build. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for some more Cyber Dragon videos. They'll be coming. Take care, everybody.